In late 2016, Nintendo was in serious trouble. The Wii U had sold only 13.56 million systems worldwide. That number stung even more when you held it next to the Wii's 101 million. Smartphone games were pulling casual players away from dedicated gaming hardware. Sony and Microsoft owned the traditional console market. Analysts and investors were saying the same thing out loud. Stop making hardware, put Mario on the iPhone, and move on. Nintendo revealed the Switch instead. The idea took about 30 seconds to grasp. Plug it into your TV like a home console. Pull it from the dock and take it with you. Snap off the controllers and hand one to the person next to you. It was not some entirely new invention. It was two things people already understood, combined into one device. By March 2026, the original Switch had sold 156 million units. The Switch 2 added another 20 million systems. To understand how Nintendo got there, you have to go back to 1889. That year, a craftsman named Fusajiro Yamauchi was making Hanafuda playing cards by hand in Kyoto, Japan. The cards were physical, social, and simple to understand. Nintendo was not born as a tech company. It was built around things people could pick up and enjoy together without needing instructions. That detail matters more than it might seem. In 1949, a 22-year-old named Hiroshi Yamauchi took over as Nintendo's president after his grandfather suffered a stroke. Yamauchi had no nostalgia for the playing card business. He wanted to grow, and he could see the ceiling clearly. In 1956, he visited the United States Playing Card Company, the biggest card manufacturer in the world at the time. He expected to find a massive operation. He found something surprisingly small. If that was the best the playing card industry had to offer, it was never going to build the company he had in mind. In 1959, Hiroshi met with Roy Disney and licensed Disney characters to print on playing cards. He started selling them through toy stores instead of traditional card shops. Around 600,000 packs sold in the first year. The numbers were good, but the lesson underneath them was more valuable. A familiar character could make a simple product feel more exciting, more appealing, and easier to sell. Nintendo stored that idea. It would use it again and again for the next 100 years. Through the 1960s, Yamauchi tried to find a second business. Nintendo experimented with taxis, instant rice, and real estate. The taxi operation ran into labor problems and was eventually sold. The food line failed. Nothing stuck. What Yamauchi was really doing was searching for something durable beyond playing cards. He kept coming up empty. The answer arrived through the maintenance department. In 1965, Nintendo hired a young engineer named Gunpei Yokoi to maintain the factory floor. Yokoi built a small mechanical arm in his spare time, mostly just to see if he could. Yamauchi saw it and told him to turn it into a product. Nintendo released it as the Ultra Hand. It sold more than 1 million units. Yokoi eventually put a name to the thinking behind that moment. He called it lateral thinking with withered technology. Withered did not mean old and useless. It meant proven, affordable, and well understood. Technology whose quirks and limits were already figured out. The idea was simple. You did not need the newest or most expensive components to make something people had never seen before. You just needed the creativity to use familiar technology in a way nobody had thought to try yet. Nintendo kept building on that idea. Mechanical toys, electronic shooting games, light gun attractions. The laser clay shooting system turned bowling alleys into simulated shooting ranges. Early interest was strong. Then the 1973 oil crisis drove up costs and customers started canceling. Nintendo lost a lot of money. The company survived by shrinking the technology down into smaller arcade games. It was not the first time Nintendo would turn a setback into something workable. It would not be the last. By the late 1970s, Nintendo was expanding into arcade games and pushing into the American market. An early arcade game called Radarscope flopped in the United States, leaving Nintendo of America stuck with warehouses full of unsold machines. Nintendo gave a young artist named Shigeru Miyamoto the job of creating a new game that could run on the existing hardware. That constraint produced Donkey Kong in 1981. The game introduced a character first called Jumpman, who later became Mario. Nintendo had taken a failed product and built one of the most valuable franchises in entertainment history out of it. The Game Boy came along in 1989, and Yokoi's philosophy was visible in every choice. Competitors had color screens. The Game Boy used black and white. The hardware was modest, affordable, and built to last on a single set of batteries. Tetris made it essential for people who had never considered themselves gamers. Pokémon kept it alive for years longer than anyone expected. Better technology existed. A better experience did not. Nintendo rebuilt the North American gaming market with the Nintendo Entertainment System after the industry collapsed in 1983. It used careful quality controls to earn back the trust of retailers and consumers, then dominated the decade that followed with the Super Nintendo. Then the ground shifted. Sony's PlayStation used discs instead of cartridges. Discs were cheaper to make and held far more data. Game developers started choosing Sony's platform. Nintendo kept its best games and its best designers, but the commanding market position it had held through the 1980s was gone. The Virtual Boy launched in 1995 with a red display meant to create a 3D effect. It was uncomfortable to use, hard to show off in stores, and had almost no software worth playing. Nintendo discontinued it after selling around 770,000 units. The product showed exactly what happened when Nintendo chased novelty without delivering something that was actually comfortable or easy to use. The GameCube followed in 2001. It was solid hardware with strong games, but the console market had moved toward movies, online features, and Sony's enormous head start. Nintendo could not win by building another standard console and fighting on terms its competitors had already defined. Satoru Iwata became Nintendo's president in 2002. He believed the game industry had gotten too complicated and too intimidating for too many people. Nintendo's answer was to stop chasing the same audience as Sony and Microsoft and start building a different one. The Nintendo DS launched in 2004, with 2 screens, a touch display, and games like Nintendogs and Brain Age. The Wii arrived in 2006 with motion controls and Wii Sports, a game that explained itself in about 90 seconds. Kids, parents, grandparents, and people who had never touched a game controller could all pick up a Wii remote and figure it out almost immediately. The Wii sold more than 101 million units. Nintendo had not beaten Sony and Microsoft by outspending them. It had grown the market by making games easier to get into. The Wii U launched in 2012 and had some ideas that would later prove important. Playing on a screen away from the TV, blending portable and home gaming. But Nintendo could not explain what the product actually was. Many buyers assumed the controller was just an add-on for the original Wii. Games came out slowly. Third-party developers pulled back as sales fell. The Wii U sold 13.56 million units across its entire lifespan. The deeper problem was structural. Nintendo was splitting its engineers and software teams between 2 separate product lines, home consoles and handhelds, that were pulling resources in opposite directions. In early 2013, Nintendo started bringing those hardware teams closer together. In 2015, it merged its major software divisions into a single unit called Nintendo EPD. The company could not keep funding 2 disconnected platforms. Everything had to work as one. Satoru Iwata died in July 2015, before the Switch was ever shown to the public. He had shaped nearly everything that made it possible. The Switch launched March 3, 2017, backed by Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Splatoon 2, and Super Mario Odyssey. The concept was clear from the first look. The games were ready from day one. Nintendo had learned, through decades of failure and recovery, that a new idea meant nothing if the software was not there to support it. Nintendo's story is usually described as a journey from playing cards to video games. That framing is too tidy. The company moved through cards, taxis, food products, mechanical toys, shooting systems, arcade machines, handhelds, home consoles, motion controls, 3D displays, and hybrid hardware. Its failures rarely vanished completely. Radar Scope became Donkey Kong. Cheap components became the Game Boy. The Wii U's unfinished ideas became the Switch. Nintendo does not win by building the most powerful machine. It wins when it takes technology people already understand and uses it to create something they did not know they wanted. The Switch is not the end of that story. It is just the clearest version of it so far. Nintendo does not win by building the most powerful machine. It wins when it takes technology people already understand and uses it to create something they did not know they wanted. The Switch is not the end of that story. It is just the clearest version of it so far. Nintendo has now built something it has rarely had before, a platform stable enough to extend rather than replace. The Switch 2 suggests the company is betting on continuity for the first time in its history. Whether that confidence holds in a world where mobile gaming, cloud streaming, and AI-generated content are all pulling at the same audience will be the defining question of Nintendo's next chapter.